Oh. Samson.
Hello, hello, my friends. I'm going to give this just a minute as everyone comes piling in. Will you guys let me know if you can hear me and see me? Make sure I'm not speaking into the void. If you'll just throw it in the chat, if you can see me and hear me, that would be amazing. I'm trying to change my name. Every time I do this, I forget how to change my name, but it will come to me. I'm so glad you're here. P.S. Thank you for being here. This is going to be awesome. Okay. Oh, what is happening? Sinead, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. You have your hand raised, but if you have a question, we can see. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, and I'm gonna let, before I get rolling here, we're gonna give this a few minutes. Let me just tell those of you that are here right now, while I'm going, you guys, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box. There's a Q&A and a chat. Let's go ahead and use the Q&A just because it's easier for me to see and keep track of everyone's questions. So if you have anything that comes up for you while I'm teaching, go ahead and put it in the Q&A section. I'll totally get to your question. And then after I teach as well, I would love to open it up for coaching. So if anyone does want to come on for coaching, that's when you can click the raise your hand button and I'll bring you on and we can do some coaching. Thank you for letting me know that you can see me and hear me. I'm going to try to change my name one more time, see if I can remember how to do this. And view participants. You'd think I'd remember. Tell me, you guys, where you are tuning in from. You can put that in the chat. Where are you at, my friends? I'm in Arizona. I don't know what the good news is. It's finally, I live like in the desert of Arizona. But hey, it says it's like 73 right now. That's amazing. So I think there's hope that it might not be forever hot here. Okay, focus. I'm not going to talk for a minute and I'm going to figure this out. No, this I need you to move. There we go. Okay. Audio settings. Profile. No, it's not that. I will say, I don't know, you guys. It's all right. You know who I am. I am Heather Flake. And I'm so glad you're here. You guys, I'm really happy that you have joined me on this Monday morning. I was like, what day is it? It's Monday. I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be really awesome. We're going to be talking all about today. Oh, more rename. It's easier than I think. That's why it's hard for me. It's too easy. There we go. Here I am. Okay. Today, we're going to be talking all about the relationship you have with yourself. We're going to talk about why it matters, how you can figure out how your relationship is. Like, is it rocky? Is it great? You know, I'm going to teach you some ways to improve your relationship. It's going to be awesome. So what we're going to do about the first 20, 25 minutes, I'm going to just run you through content. I'm going to teach you about your relationship, how to get it out, how to discover how it is, how to improve it, all the things. Okay. While I'm doing that, like I said, if you guys have any questions, just put them in the Q&A. And then at the end of my spill, I'm going to run over to the Q&A box and I'm going to answer any questions that you have. Along with that, if you want to come on and get coached, you're like, you know what? I'm struggling with this thing, or this came up for me while you were talking, you can actually come on screen. If you're nervous and you don't want your picture on or your name or something, no big deal. You can be anonymous. But yeah, that's kind of how we're going to run this. Does that sound good? Okay. I'm going to check this. Perfect. And I'm going to close that. Okay. So welcome. I am here on behalf of Life Coach University. So for those of you that don't know, at any given time, you can go to lifecoachuniversity.com and there's an amazing list of life coaches literally from all over the world that are running these free webinars and workshops on all different kinds of topics at any given time. And we're like international. There's people all over the world. So you can always find a time zone that works for you. If you can't sleep at night, come to a workshop from someone that's in Sweden or something. Like there's so much goodness. The mission of Life Coach University is to get life coaching to millions of people for free. We want people to experience the magic of coaching. And then with that, we just ask when you participate in one of our sessions that you just pay it forward in the world in whatever way that you see fit. If that's buying someone's breakfast behind you in the drive-through line or opening the door for someone, or it's just being nice to yourself, like you get to decide, but just think about what way in which you would like to pay it forward. All right. Are we ready? Let's do this. Let's get started. Okay, you guys, today we're talking all about the relationship you have with you. And what I want to say first off is this might be kind of weird. You're like, what? I didn't really know I had a relationship with myself, but you do. And you've been cultivating it and it's been a part of you since you were a little tiny human. Okay. So I just want you to kind of familiarize yourself with that. And you might be able to think as we go through this, you can think about a relationship you have with someone else that you feel like is good and it's strong and it's a healthy relationship that serves you in your life. Think about how you show up in that relationship and then kind of stand in front of the mirror. And you can think about like, what are the differences, or just think about, or just recognize, become aware that it's the exact same way with yourself. The way you talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you think about you, that's your relationship. Okay. And that's what I want to tell you. If you're new to me, I teach that relationships are thoughts. Okay. Our relationships are really only as good as the thoughts that are happening in between the relationship. So for example, when we're talking about ourselves, you can know how good or not good your relationship with yourself is based on the thoughts you have about yourself. How do I know that? You just ask yourself, like, how do I think about me? How do I feel about me? Like you answer the question. Okay. Or in another relationship you have, if you want to look at the relationship you have with a spouse or with a child or a roommate or a friend, whoever, you think about, how is it that I think about that other person? How is it that I think that other person thinks about me? How does that other person think about me? Right? Like that's what a relationship consists of. For example, if I feel like things are going great between my husband and I, like we have a good relationship, it's because I'm thinking great things about him. Man, he's so supportive. We're so in sync. We're on the same page. He's so kind. He's so funny. I love him. When I have those thoughts, our relationship is amazing. When I think, oh, he's not present, he's not helping me, he doesn't understand me, I don't even know what's going on with him, the relationship suffers. Relationships are based on our thoughts. Okay. So here's an example that I want you to think about. So when I was 21, I served a mission for my church and I was in Salta, Argentina. Okay. And like, I just went there as a single person. I left my family. And when I got there, the church arranged for me to have a companion. So at all times, I had a female companion with me. Like we lived together, we worked together, we did all the things together. And there was like very strict rules. And the only time you could be without your companion was literally if you were in the bathroom. So if you were showering or doing your business, like that's the only time you had alone time. Other than that, you guys, we were together. And our whole mission was to teach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the people that were living in Argentina. Okay. So we had this thing every week that was mandatory, and it was called Companionship Inventory. So I remember we would do this on Thursdays, and we literally had this book, and it gave prompts. It gave us questions that we were to ask each other. But the whole purpose was to just kind of measure and evaluate how our team, how our companionship was doing. And basically they were questions like, I really don't remember the specific questions, but it was just to see like, okay, how are you feeling about me? How am I feeling about you? What's going on? Is there any beef? Are there any like things that we need to clear up? Do we have any disagreements, or is there any contention in any way? Because we knew that if we were not working well together as a team, we were not going to be effective, and we were not going to be helping people learn about Jesus Christ, which was our entire mission, right? So it was really important that as companions, we liked each other and we got along and we could communicate so that we could be successful. Okay. So I want you to think about this, but turn it on yourself. And I'm inviting you to do a self inventory. Okay. This does not have to be painful. Like I'm all about you making things fun, and let's have fun, right? So I want you to think of a fun way in which you could conduct a self inventory. Okay. Maybe that looks like you going on a drive by yourself. Maybe you go get your favorite food or your favorite drink or something, and it's just you with yourself. And instead of turning on the radio or a podcast or calling a friend, no, it's just you and yourself checking in. Hey, you, how are you? How am I thinking about you? How do I feel about you? What's going on for us? How's our life going? Like, is there anything that's bothering you? Is there anything that I've done to upset you? Like, I know that it can seem weird, but honestly, like check in with yourself. And if you guys think about this, you do this in all the relationships that mean anything to you, you check in. Even if it's not in this official way, like just think about it. If you have a relationship and you can tell like something's off, like the person is annoyed with you, you do something. You're either like, hey, like, are you okay? Or maybe you write a little note, or you send some flowers. Like you do something because you care about that person. You care about that relationship. I want you to do this with yourself. I want you to really care about you as a person. I want you to love who you are. Do you know why? Because you never get to escape yourself, no matter what. Other people, other relationships in our life, if the person is bugging us, you can do this amazing thing. You can leave. Like, even if it's just for a small moment. Like sometimes when my family is driving me nuts, guess what? I'm just like, love you guys, going on a drive. Be back in 30. Right? Or if you have a friend or someone that is just annoying you, you're just like, yeah, gotta go. Bye. Right? But you cannot escape yourself. You can never run away from your own feet, like they say in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It's you versus you forever. So I'm all about you building this relationship where you love who you are. This is not arrogance. This is not prideful. I'm not saying we think we're better than everyone in the world. No. But I want you to have a high sense of self. I want you to see you and love you and acknowledge you and appreciate you, even with, and maybe because of your weaknesses and the flaws and things that are hard for you. Like, I want you to see all of it and love all of it. Okay. So going into why this matters is because you guys, the way that you think about yourself creates how you feel about yourself. Okay. So if I tend to think I'm not enough, I'm behind, I'm fat, I'm too old, I'm not very nice, it's too late, I can't achieve my goals. If I'm thinking thoughts like that, it's making me feel terrible. I feel discouraged. I feel disappointed. I feel guilt. I feel depressed, maybe, right? Like it's creating these feelings for me. And then just think about it. When you feel that way, what do you do? How do you show up? meaning what action do you take? What action don't you take? Right? If I'm thinking I'm not enough and I'm behind, it's not going to motivate me to like crush my goals all of a sudden. Right? It's going to keep me in this down. And I'm actually going to probably just spiral down. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not enough. This, like my brain is going to collect all of this evidence as to why I'm not good enough. And then my story just grows from there. Right? And why this matters is because the actions, meaning the things that you do, the things you don't do in your life, create your results or your overall outcome for what happens for you. Okay. So that's why your relationship is so important. A, because you can't ever escape it. B, it creates the experience that you have in the world. And I just want to offer you guys, why would you not take the opportunity to just fall in love with yourself and to give yourself that gift forever? Okay. And it's like, no matter what mistakes I make, no matter how much I fail, I'm going to love me. I'm going to be so nice to me. Like the way that I think about this with myself is I come home to me. So like things in my business, sometimes, a lot of the times I have to do things that really scare me. Right. And I feel really nervous and I'm like, well, what are people going to think? And what if I mess up? And what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if no one signs up for my thing? I'm like, it's totally fine. Do you know why? Because after I go out in the scary world and I try it, guess who I get to go home to? Heather. And she's amazing. She is so nice to me. She is patient. She encourages me. She believes in me. I love going home to her. So it is worth it. I'm going to put myself out there, do my thing. And I know that no matter what happens, I get to come home to Heather. So it's all good. Okay. Is this making sense, you guys? If you have any questions at any time, you can throw them in there. Okay. Now I want to talk to you about how you can kind of flesh out this relationship with yourself. So the way I'm going to frame this, you guys, is like we're writing a book. When I was in life coach training, our director, Brooke, she always says, you are the story you tell yourself about yourself. And you're like, oh, right. Like it's kind of one of those weird phrases that you're like, wait, what the heck did you just say? But it's so true. You are the story you tell yourself about yourself. That's it. Right? Powerful. Okay. So I want you to think about writing a book or writing a story. I've never written a book. Okay. Maybe you have. I don't know. But even you can go back to your school days, like when you had to write an essay. Okay. So the teacher would give you like a prompt or a theme or an assignment, and then you had to start writing. You had to like bring something to life. So that is step one. We have to uncover what your story about yourself is. Okay. So how to get it out? Several different ways. You could get a pen and a paper. There's this amazing thing where like there's these utensils and paper and you can write stuff. Thing of the past, I know, but it still works. You could type on your computer. You could make a Google Doc or a PDF. Or if you don't like to write or you feel like writing is clunky for you or something, guess what? You could use your phone and push the record button and talk. But all I'm trying to say to you is you've got to capture in some form your story about yourself. Now, I work with clients and I have all of my clients do this, and it's kind of interesting. A lot of the times when my clients start writing their story, and some of them share their story with me, some of them don't. It's totally up to them, right? But a lot of the times when I get their story back, it starts as kind of like I grew up in this place, I did this thing, I went to this school, I did this, which is great. But I'm like, I want the meat. I want to know what you think about yourself. Like, what's the story? So the story might be, I'm a really friendly person. I love being around people, but I tend to hold back on following my dreams because I'm really afraid. I'm really afraid that I might mess up. And then what are people going to think of me? And how is that going to affect this, and this, right? Like we want the meat of what you really think and feel about yourself. So the prompt here, how to start getting your story out, is to ask yourself, okay, how do I think about me? How do I view me? And something I love to do is, and it might be in a different place, but translate. I want you to translate the relationship you have with you and like pretend like you're looking at it. So the best way to do this is to ask yourself, the way I speak to myself, would I speak to anybody else like I speak to myself? It's like I had a client last week. I was working with her and she was wanting to implement some new goals and she was having a hard time doing that. And I was like, so what do you think? Like, what do you think about yourself when you're not achieving this thing? And she's like, that I'm lazy and unmotivated. And I was like, okay, like, so let's talk about like your husband. Let's say your husband had these same goals and he was trying to achieve them and you saw him not getting out of bed in the morning. What would you say to him? She's like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, can I help you? What's going on? Why do you even have this goal in the first place? And I was like, oh yeah. So you mean to tell me you would never say, oh my gosh, you're so lazy and unmotivated. Get up. She's like, oh my gosh, no, like I would never say that to anyone. I wouldn't even say that to someone I didn't like. It's like, right? So why are you saying that to you? Why? That's so damaging. Think about it too in this way. So you can think about it in a relationship that you do have with someone that you love. I think about it like with my kids. I have 2 kids. And I think all the time, what if I just was telling them like, hey, you know what? You're really slow. Oh my gosh, you're ugly. Ooh, you're very behind. What, like, you got to kick it up. When are you going to start walking? It's so embarrassing that you don't know how to walk yet. Like, get it together, dude. Walk. Okay. Like, if I talk to my children that way, can you guys imagine the effect that would have? Right. Like, I imagine it would be really damaging. They're not going to trust me as their mom. We're going to create a lot of disconnection. They're not going to confide in me. They're not going to come to me. They're probably not going to trust me. Like, there's going to be all kinds of issues that are going to arise from that, I think. Same with YOU. I want you to think about it. If you're talking to yourself in that way, what's the overall effect? What's happening? What's the result of the way that you're currently treating yourself? I think that's a really powerful question to answer. And you guys, I want to offer, don't be afraid to answer it. It's okay. We're figuring this out. We're just getting our story out. This is a safe place to get it out. Okay. So that's step 1. I just want you to figure out, and you could ask yourself even this too, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel? Like, what's my relationship with me like? Right? Like on any given day, I could just tell you, like if someone's like on a scale of 1 to 10, how's the relationship with you and your husband today? And I could be like, 7, 12. Like I could throw out a number, right? Just an arbitrary number. So I think that's a really good place to start with yourself, especially if this is new to you and you're feeling kind of weird and you're not maybe self-aware, super self-aware when it comes to your relationship with yourself. I think that's a really good question. And then, yeah, just like translate the way that you think and talk and feel about yourself, the way you treat yourself, translate it to other relationships. Would you ever do that to someone else? If not, the great question is then why are we doing it to us? Right? All right. So once you get your story out, so whether it's on paper or it's been recorded or in whatever form it's in, the next thing you got to do is you got to go back through and read it. Okay. So what I do when I do this is I literally take a highlighter and I go through and read and I just highlight things that I'm like, oh my gosh, fascinating. I had no idea. Okay. Now you got to use the double C's. Do you know what they are? The double C's are crucial. Okay. When you're going back through and you're reading your story, you must be curious with yourself and you must be compassionate. I tell my clients all the time, if you're not going to be nice, if you're not going to be compassionate and curious when you read your story, don't read it. Wait till you're in a place where you can be nice to yourself. Because if you're just going to read this paper and beat yourself up, then it serves us no purpose. Okay. So you've got to be curious and compassionate. And I want to offer like, so how do I get there? Especially maybe if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, how do I become curious? An amazing question to ask yourself is, what's going on for you, babe? Put babe on the end of it, or sweetheart, or whatever. Love. What's going on for you, love? Use that tone with yourself. And yourself is going to be like crawling out from under the rock, and wisdom is going to emerge from that. Okay. But curiosity, when you're curious instead of judgmental, the difference, curiosity is like, oh my goodness, I wonder where that's coming from, or I wonder why I do this. Curiosity is, oh my goodness, that's so fascinating. That is so interesting. I wonder, right? That's curiosity. As as where judgmental is, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're doing this. I knew this was going to happen. You've always been this way. You're a piece of trash, right? Judging yourself never serves you in any way, shape, or form. It does not. And then compassion, right? Just genuine compassion for yourself. I always tell my clients when they're giving me their spill, I'm like, dude, this makes so much sense, because they always try to tell me how confused they are. Like, I'm just so confused. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why I'm thinking this. I'm like, honey, it's not confusing at all. It makes so much sense. Just be compassionate, be nice. And again, think about this with another relationship. If you had a friend or someone that confided in you and was telling you about some hard things, guess what? You're going to be curious and you're going to be compassionate. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Tell me more. What's going on for you? Do that with yourself. Okay. So that's step number 2 is once your story is out, you want to go back through and read it and think about it. You guys, like if you write an essay or you write a story, you do a rough draft and then you have to go back through and pay attention. You got to read. So you have a sense of like what's happening in the story, where we're headed, right? And then step 3, obviously, is doing edits and then rewriting. So again, you can use your highlighter, I don't use a red pen because I feel like I have like trauma from grade school and red pens. So do whatever works for you. But step 3 is to edit your story, to go back through. And I just circle things that I'm like, I don't like that part of the story. I don't like that part where I believe that thing about myself. It serves me in no way. What else could I think? What else could be true? How could I rewrite this? So, and that's what I want to offer to you guys that I think is so powerful and so exciting. You get to write your own story. No matter what has happened in your past, like today's a new day, you get to write the story. You have the pen. There's no such thing as somebody else writing your story. Like you are the author, you're writing it. You get to make your story whatever you want it to be. And so I suggest making it a story that serves you and a story that you love. And guess what? Like any good story, yeah, there's going to be some tragedy and some heartbreak and some hardship. All good stories have those elements. We need both. But I just want you to remember that you are the author. No one else gets to write your story. You're in control of your story. You get to decide what you make what happened in the past mean about you today. And then you also get to decide, where am I going? Like, what does my future look like? You create your future. Okay. So yeah, as you go through and you edit and you rewrite your story, you can highlight things that maybe aren't serving you or thoughts that you're just like, oh, yeah, that's not going to be helpful. And I just ask myself, I say, what else is true about this? What else is true for me? Or I say, what could I think instead? And then I always ask myself, like, how is this thought serving me? How is it serving me to believe that I'm not good enough? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's not at all. So what I want you to see here is as you edit and rewrite your story, you are editing and rewriting your story, not someone else. And you're the best person to do this. We don't want anyone else barging in and editing our story. We want to own that because you just get to decide. And even if something is true, you guys, doesn't mean you just have to keep believing it over and over and over again, right? You can always just choose to believe whatever it is you want to about yourself, about your past, about right now, and about moving forward. Okay. And then lastly, so if you think about this, so you get the essay, you get a rough draft, you go through and read it, you get an idea of what's happening, you make some edits, you rewrite the story with your new edits, right? And then you do like a final draft, right? And you might go through this process. You might go through this process lots of times. You usually do, especially if you're like writing a book, right? It's a big deal. It takes a lot of time. But the last step is like feedback, but hear me. This is feedback from you. You're not putting a story out there and then accepting feedback from the critics or from anyone. No, I'm talking about feedback from yourself. So once you've rewritten this story about yourself in a way that serves you and you've changed some thoughts and made it be what you want it to be, you test it out. Meaning you start thinking those new thoughts. You start practicing this new story, telling yourself and believing your new story and living in this new story. And then you see what happens, meaning, how am I feeling now? What is it that I feel? And because I'm feeling this way, what is it that I'm doing? What action am I taking? Or what action am I not taking? And then ultimately, like, what's the result? What is this new story that I'm believing and living in and telling? What's it creating for me in my life? And that's the feedback. And when I say feedback, you guys, you're going to notice changes. You're going to notice changes in the way that you feel. And I promise you, when you feel different, when you feel highly of yourself, you take amazing action. You show up so much better in all the areas because you've got your own back now. You're not waiting for other people to validate you. You're not needing other people to think you're the bee's knees, because you think you're the bee's knees. You've got you. Everything goes up. And then most often the people that are closest to you, it's this ripple effect. They're like, what happened to you? And you're like, yeah, I got a life coach. Right? Like it's this ripple effect. People notice, which is just a fun bonus. But the best part is the feedback that you get from yourself. You feel better. You act differently. You create what it is that you want in your life. Okay. One thing that I want to offer that I forgot to mention, you guys, is if you're having a hard time getting your story out, because sometimes this happens with my clients. I'm like, tell me what you think about yourself. And they're like, yeah, like, I think I'm good. I'm nice. I'm a good person. But they're just like, crickets are chirping. So make it situational. Ask yourself, like, okay, when I was struggling with something, like, and I mean, we're human, so it's probably going to be in the last 24 hours. When something was hard for me, what was the dialogue in my head looking like? Or when I made a mistake this yesterday or this morning, how was it that I was talking to myself? How was it that I was feeling? Right. And you guys, I just want to say there's a little bit of a learning curve here just because it's new. If you're not used to kind of paying attention to this story of yourself, the only thing that I want you to focus on moving forward then is just paying attention to what you do think about yourself. I always tell my clients, it's just like, you know how everyone has earbuds in at all given times and we're like always streaming something? Same with your brain. You're always streaming a story or you're always listening to a song, and I want to know what the lyrics are. Okay. What is it? And that's what we just call awareness. Like, awareness is the first step. So once you get that awareness, then you're like, okay, yeah, I think this story can emerge. I think I can put this out on paper. And then you have more courage to do the rest of this once you can actually identify, like, oh, because most of the time we're just living on autopilot, right? And we don't really pay attention to what we think, especially about ourselves, or we're just used to it. We're like, yeah, but I've always believed that about myself. And we think it's true. We're like, no, but really, like, I'm really not enough. I'm always behind. I can show you. Okay. So once you create that awareness, it's like, oh, it's like, you like start to come out and you recognize maybe something else is true. Maybe something even greater is available to me. Okay. All right, my friends, what are your questions? Tell me about the like story process. Is there anywhere in which you're feeling like, I don't know where to start? Go ahead and tell me any questions that you have while I sip some agua that's dripping all over me. I'll flip this too. So if you need to jog your memory. So just in summary, right? Like, the relationship that you have with yourself, the best way to think about it is the way I think about myself. And I'm telling you, a really good way to look at this, because I've done this before. I had a coach once and I was like, yeah, like, I love myself. I think I'm so awesome. And I don't even remember what the circumstance thing was, but something like happened. Oh, I remember exactly what's coming back to me. I had this job interview that I just thought I was so prepared for and I was going to kill it. And I really just thought I was going to get this job. And I showed up for the job interview, and long story short, I had missed like a really big, I don't even know how to explain this, but I had just missed a really big part of of this job that looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, of course I should have known about that, but I just didn't. Anyway, so after the interview, I was beside myself. I was so embarrassed. And I felt so much embarrassment for a long time. And that's why. It's because I was telling myself, you should have known better. You were such a fool. I can't believe you got on that call not knowing A, B, and C. That's so embarrassing, right? And so that's when I recognized, like, oh, maybe my relationship with myself isn't as strong, isn't as amazing as I thought it was. Because we want to get to the point that no matter what the circumstances are, good job interview, bad job interview, A on the test, F on the test, you want to get to a point where you love you, you come home to you, and it's a safe, warm place where you can build the courage to go back out again, because you know you're going to be well taken care of when you come home. So I'm just saying, sometimes if you're having trouble identifying what your relationship is with yourself, use situations in which maybe you have been embarrassed or you felt a negative emotion, and think back to that and be like, okay, what was happening for me? What was going on? I think that can be really helpful to do that. Do you guys have any questions about this? And I'm just curious, how do you feel like your relationship with yourself is? Do you feel like this is important? Well, of course you do. That's why you're here. So thank you for being here. And you guys, I think that's such a big start. Just the fact that you're like learning about it and paying attention to it. And heck, maybe you could teach this webinar. Maybe you know way more about it than I do. But I just think it's like I just really do believe it's the most valuable relationship that we can build a strong foundation with, because it is the foundation for all other relationships. If I don't love myself, how am I going to love anybody else? It makes it really hard. Right? So I believe that doing this work, doing the story, writing your story, getting it out, editing it with what? Curiosity and compassion, testing it out, putting it out there, getting feedback. And then you guys, this process just loops. Did you know this? Just all the time. Where is my pretty green marker? All of the time, it's going like this. Yeah, we did feedback. That was great. Okay, start over. Because I think all the time our story is changing, right? The story I tell myself about me today, even compared to 6 months ago, different story. It's different. Like, our story is always evolving and changing. And that's a beautiful thing, because we're the creator of that, right? Like, I'm up leveling my story, I'm changing it. And then I put feedback in and out. And then I edit parts. I'm like, ooh, that part's not so pretty. I want to rewrite it. Ooh, I love this. I want more of this, right? And then it's just like a constant loop. Okay. If anyone has a question, go ahead and pop it in the question and answer box, the Q&A box down on the bottom. If anyone would like to come on to get coached on the relationship that you have with yourself, you can hit the button. If you see the little icons on the bottom, there's a little hand. You can click raise hand, and I'm happy to bring you on and give you some coaching. But this is for you, my friends. So if you have any questions, amazing, I'm here. If you don't, and you feel like you got what you wanted to get today, then you're free to go. Just want to thank you guys again so much for being here. Really, it's such a pleasure to do these webinars. And like I said, go to lifecoachuniversity.com and see what else is going on this month. There's so many good things. I personally am, oh, there's a question. Let's see. Yeah, super powerful to hear the lyrics of the song that keeps looping it. I agree, right? And I think that's just something we can relate to, because we're always streaming. Like, and I'm a huge music person. I love music so much. I have music on all the time. So I purposefully, like, sometimes when I'm in the car, I purposefully don't turn my music on so that I can sit with myself and just hear. Yeah. So what are the lyrics of the song that keeps looping in your head? I love it. And that's the thing. There's always a song on, right? It's never just like something is always playing in your head. And so even if that's I love that. I think that's an amazing, like, aha to take from this session is go find out what the lyrics are. Go listen to the song and write the lyrics down, and then decide how that song is serving you, right? Do you love this song? Is it really the anthem you want attached to your life? Or do you want to write a new song? Because you can. And I think that's just so empowering. I love being a human because we get to decide. We get to write the song, write the story. Thank you for sharing. Glad that was helpful for you. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember what I was talking about before this, but I was going to say the next month, I'm going to be doing 2 different webinars on the same thing, just at different times, one at the beginning of the month and one at the end of the month. But I'm going to be talking all about how to navigate your family around the holidays. Isn't it insane? P.S. that the holidays are approaching. Like, what is actually happening? Like next month, guys, we start holiday. So crazy. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a couple different webinars on how to just show up as your best self and how to just enjoy your family and all the things that come with family gatherings, no matter what. So if you can follow me on Instagram, if you don't, at Heather Flake Coaching. I always post about my webinars there. I'm always putting lots of content and videos out there, so you can check that out. And again, lifecoachuniversity.com literally has all of the classes to just like totally set yourself up. And I would offer like all the things that you go to are going to help you build on like the story and the relationship of yourself, because it's so important. All right, my beautiful friends, I so appreciate you being here today. If there's no other questions or anything, that is all I have for you today. But thank you for coming. You guys, if you have a specific question that you do want to ask, you can always email me at heatherflakecoaching@gmail.com, or you can get on my Instagram and send me a direct message as well. Okay, what if this person says, what a strong visual. I feel like I'm the DJ of my life. I love it. In the past, I put on records that put me down, shame me, and blame me. Now I'm trying to get records that boost me up and to have fun and dance. I love that so much. Can I take a picture of this comment? I'm going to. It's anonymous, but I love that so much. I'm very visual too, and I love dancing. So I just totally see that. Yeah, you're the DJ. You get to decide what comes on, right? Don't you love that? Like, if you don't like the song, just switch it. Like, you're the DJ, dude. I love it so much. I'm straight up taking a picture of this because it's so good. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Amen. Amen, anonymous attendee. Love it. Okay. All right. Well, go put on your favorite song. Go listen to your song and decide if you need to make a switch. Okay, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you go work on you. Go get that story out. Okay. And make it fun. It can be fun. Don't make this painful. Curiosity, compassion, make it fun. Okay. I love you all. Thanks for being here. We'll see you here next time. Bye.